Hello everyone, my name is Christian, welcome to my hobby blog. We are doing part 6 of the Withering Watchpile. I finally counted them up and was kind of shocked that we're just at 6. It feels like we've done a lot more, but if you count in Zatoichi, it's like part 20. We did so many Zatoichi. But today we are doing our theme of post-apocalyptic / dystopian. To me, they're the same in my mind. If someone really wants to split hairs on it, go ahead. I'll just say they're the same to me. But coming back is Leon. Welcome back.
Thanks, Christian, for having me again, man. This is always a blast, and I look forward to every episode. Really excited for this topic we're going to be talking about tonight. So, ready to go, man.
So I have another thing here. I did the same thing as I did last week, which is all rewatches. I tried not to, but I like show and tell. So I was like, shit, I don't have any movies that I haven't seen that are post-apocalyptic / dystopian. I'm like looking at my stack that I have on my coffee table in front of the TV. And I'm like, yeah, none of them are dystopian. I did get a big stack of movies that were dystopian, post-apocalyptic, and all of them I'd rewatched very recently and did episodes on. So I was like, fuck. So there's no Six String Samurai on my part this episode, not to give spoilers, but that was one where I was like, man, I said everything I could, like using supplements and all that in my review for it. So I would just be saying the same stuff as I would on there. So unless you did it, that's cool. But for me, I was like, shit. I was like, I couldn't justify doing it again. So these are totally random. One of them I was stretching the definition on. And then I watched the documentary and they were like, this is post-apocalyptic. And I was like, fuck yeah. I was like, well, they said dystopian. And I was like, okay, cool. I thought they were doing that, but good to know for sure that they purposely made it dystopian. So do you want to go first or me?
I think I went first, so I think you should start it off this time. So
Okay.
we'll just switch it like that.
Sounds good. Well, this one's a kind of double feature. I didn't watch the remake, but the one I'm doing is Mad Max. Because we gotta, one of us, I don't know if you did it, but I knew we had to get the original post-apocalyptic movie. The one that literally everybody in the 80s tried to redo, and they were just as boring as this one. I am so sorry to say that. As much as I love this movie, I love the first 10 and the last 10 minutes. I'm not even going to describe the story because everybody knows it, and I don't feel like I should. I don't want to waste time on that. But I have a complicated relationship with this entire series because I also have the 4K of Fury Road. And what it feels like is that this was George Miller's first movie that he made, Mad Max. And this is also everybody on the crew's first movie they ever worked on. Mel Gibson. I think Mel Gibson was in theater school before doing this because on the commentary track, well, not commentary, but on the behind the scenes, Mel Gibson came back like when they were making this release and interviewed. And I was like, holy shit, it's modern day Mel Gibson. Like, someone actually hired him to talk about this movie. And he agreed to. I thought like his ego wouldn't like do that. But he came on and talked about the movie. He was in drama school, as he calls it, and said he took the job because he showed up to rehearsals or auditioning. And he was in a huge rugby team fight at like the bar. He like fought a bunch of rugby players at the bar, and he was horribly bruised and disgusting looking because it was the morning after his fight that they were doing it. He just went from the bar to audition, and they were like, oh my god, you look fucking disgusting. Call back in a week and we will like audition you. We want you to, not be so swollen in the face. And so he was like, okay, cool. And he went back and they were like, who are you? They couldn't even recognize him. He was like, oh, I'm that guy. This is my picture. And his whole face is like blue and yellow and swollen and like all nasty. And so George Miller saw him and he was like, yeah, you're hired on. Didn't even audition him. They just wanted him. And thankfully, he's a pretty good actor. So that worked out good. The actress for Jesse, who plays his wife, who's the mother of the kid, she's kind of the love interest. Joanne Samuel is who played her. And the original actress for that was like some unknown person because they didn't want anybody who was like a veteran actor who people knew. And so they hired a woman. I don't know what her name was. But she got in like a horrible car accident or something and was like disfigured permanently from it. So they couldn't hire her to play the wife of Mel Gibson. And so they got, at the time, world famous Joanne Samuel. I don't know her, but apparently everyone knew her on the set, and it kind of broke the illusion of, you know, the amateur filmmaker, which everyone else on the thing, on the whole movie, was an amateur. But she's great in the movie. I think the issue I have with the movie is a pacing issue, because the first 10 minutes is so awesome with Knight Rider and them hunting him down, and Mad Max is like being not secretive, but he's being badass and in the hills waiting for the husband and wife to drive down, and he cuts them off and they plow through like a car, like a trailer, and they do all this stuff, and they actually do all that. Everything in this movie is practical. Stunt people almost died multiple times doing this. They didn't have any permits doing this. They were out on the the Australian outback, just recording all these car crashes, and the police would show up and they would drive away because they have these cars outfitted. They had old police cars, actually, that they just painted red and yellow and to make all the different vehicles in the movie. And they would just drive away and like get away because these cars could go 150 miles an hour because they clocked it when Mel Gibson is going down the road, and you get that kind of camera on the car and you see it like going, and it's wheeling around all the bikers. They had a camera on that, and it was a stunt guy actually going 150 miles an hour and then crashes and flips the car and goes crazy and like all this stuff. And at one point they had a stunt guy come on and he was like, oh yeah, like I banged my head against a motorcycle, like it just ran over my head, and it shows it on the movie, his head getting like almost crushed by a motorcycle. And he said cut or whatever, George Miller did, and he took off the motorcycle helmet, and his entire like his eyes were like bleeding, or not his eyes, but his ears were gushing blood, his nose was gushing blood, like all this stuff had to be rushed to the hospital. Said he was playing football because they didn't want the production shut down, because this was all like guerrilla filmmaking. This is your classic like Ed Wood filming at like a mall, and you see people looking at the camera, but it's Mad Max, there's no one to do that, but it's the same kind of filmmaking where they're just kind of, they're shooting it once and they're leaving. They're leaving the cars like in the dunes and all the explosions. They clear the road as best as they can, they get the fuck out. And it's really funny to hear them talk about that. But one thing that I kind of heard about, but I verified this time, was that the main antagonist, who has the most awesome outfit and hair, the actor is called Hugh Keys Byrne, I think. And he actually played the villain, Osmorton Joe. I don't even know how you even say that villain's name, but he plays a villain in Fury Road also, 40 years later, or whatever. And it kind of blew my mind. I was like, holy shit, it's the same actor. And so that was one thing that was funny, because it's kind of a remake, kind of not. There are some nods to the original one. But this is the complicated relationship that I have with the series, is that movie one has its fun, amateur feel where you can see everyone is just doing the best, making the best movie they can with no money. And they have a kernel of an idea, and then the sequel, Thunderdome, I believe, gets even better. And then the next movie, everyone hates because the kids, and it's PG-13, like, whatever. I thought it was interesting, but I don't think I'd ever watch it again. And why Fury Road is one of my, is my favorite Mad Max movie, is because George Miller takes every kernel of awesomeness from all of the previous titles and puts them into one movie. And Mad Max, the original, is only an hour and a half, and it feels an hour longer than the 2-hour Mad Max movie. So I think pacing is an issue. The first 10 minutes is awesome, and the last 20 minutes is awesome. It takes an hour and 15 minutes. I looked on my counter because I was like, holy shit, when does the family get murdered? Because that kind of sets off the plot. And I was like, when does this happen? I was kind of waiting. I thought it was happening at the 30-minute mark. No. Okay, maybe at the hour mark. No. It was an hour and 15 minutes one time. It's when his family gets killed and he becomes Mad Max. In the last 30 minutes, well, because the movie ends about 15 minutes later after that. He goes and kills the main antagonist and it's done. And I knew it was a pacing issue. I knew it was very slow, but I didn't realize it was that slow, that the main plot of him enacting revenge on his family's killers happens in the literal final act. It's ballsy to do that, but considering that everything else is them driving up and down a road and trying to develop the bad guys and how awful they are, I think Mad Max Fury Road does it much better. Within the first 5 minutes, I've seen Fury Road enough that I kind of know the movie. So I didn't feel like rewatching it. And it's also 2 hours. So I was like, oh, God. But the first 5 minutes of that movie, you know everything you need to know about our guy. He breeds wonderful, beautiful women in order to have babies so they can have milk. That's all you need to know. They spend no time at all on the development. That's all you need to know. He sets up the bad guy really well. Sets up Mad Max very well in this movie. He eats a lizard's head off, if I remember right. And then he gets captured. Then he gets on a car. And then he drives off. And you get... The rest of the movie is just awesome. I love Mad Max Fury Road. And you can see the kernels of ideas he had for Fury Road all the way back in 1979 when he made this. I'm trying to see anything else that I have to say. Apparently they only had enough money to give Mel Gibson the fun outfit being made of leather. Everyone else was made out of vinyl, which is like the cheapest material. Rips easily, gets damaged easily. It's so funny to talk, or to hear them talk about it. Because they're like, oh yeah, we wanted our main guy to have the most awesome outfit, so we gave him full leather, looks awesome. It's on the script, it's right here actually. But they also gave the antagonist the same outfit, but made it like a Wild West, as they call it, like a Western, where it's all like it's like a duster, and they made him all like wildly looking, like wild. And they were like, yeah, we did that on purpose. I thought that's just how the actor showed up. I was like, who is this guy? You do not grow that kind of hair on purpose. But apparently he did. So they did not interview him. I wish he did. He was alive when this release came out in like 2015, I think. Yeah, 2015. Because that's when I got this release. I didn't even know who Scream Factory was. I just wanted to see Mad Max. But he was around. I don't know why he didn't do an interview. I mean, they got fucking Mel Gibson to come on and do an interview. But yeah. Oh yeah, and another weird thing they did, which isn't on this release. This was the first cut of the movie that they had that did not have this really weird, bizarre thing they did in America in the theatrical cut, which is they redubbed all of the Australian voices with American ones, which completely destroys the movie, in my opinion, because it's the most Australian-looking movie I've ever seen. And they redubbed it. Even Mel Gibson, they redubbed, and he doesn't have an accent, like, at all. Like, I was looking, because I was like, is he Australian? I think he is. And then he has no accent, and they redubbed it anyways, because they showed clips, and I was like, this looks awful. And so I was kind of shocked that they mentioned that. I had no idea that for 30 years this movie only had the dubbed version. They did not have the Australian in America until this release. And I was like, what the fuck? That's what makes the movie awesome, is the most heavy accents ever. So, I think that's all. I'm looking through the notes and I don't see anything. So, yeah. I like this movie a lot. It's really good for a first time, for a debut movie. But I think he perfected the formula by 40 years after the fact. And so, that's why I love Mad Max Fury Road a lot more than the original. But at least the original one spawned a million awful Italian post-apocalyptic movies. So, also that's another issue I have with this movie, is that they never explain the apocalyptic event. They just keep saying, like, oh, this is post-apocalyptic. But what apocalypse did they do? All we know is that there's biker gangs. That's not post-apocalyptic. That's just the 70s with Hell's Angels and all them.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked. I didn't pick Mad Max because it was on my list, so I didn't get it. So I'm glad I didn't, because we'd had the same movie. But I've always enjoyed this movie. I like the story, the revenge. Every time that family gets murdered, it always stays in my head. It's so disturbing, especially the kid. And I'm like, you could tell it's just that 70s. I don't give a crap. But I hear your situation on it and all that. But I personally like it. My favorite is the second part. That's my favorite one. I think it picks it up more a notch. You get more
That's Thunderdome, right?
I think that's part 3, Thunderdome. There's part 2.
What's part 2?
Which is a different one. Different one than part 2.
Because Thunderdome I like a lot.
Because Beyond Thunderdome's with Tina Turner, right?
I believe so. What's number 2? Okay, here it is.
It's the Road Warrior.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that one's really good. Yeah.
That's my favorite, but I think the Fury Road's one of the best remakes ever made. Like, honestly, it lives up to everything, like, even beyond. But, yeah, I get what you're saying there. And that's funny that you said with the dubbing, because, like, I watch a lot of Italian horror films, Italian cinema, and that dubbing's so bad, so I can imagine what you're saying there. Even changing Mel Gibson to an American accent. That's even though he is pretty much with an American accent, that's just something to see for me. So I don't have that edition. I have like the cheap anthology, I'd say, Blu-ray box set or collection, but I look forward to getting that. But I just love these kind of movies. That's probably one of my favorites, and it was on my list. I'm glad I changed it. We would have the same movie.
Well, what's funny is that I only own the original and Mad Max Fury Road. I probably should have the second one, but again, I think it's far more fun to watch the original one and see all the little kernels that he fully realized in Fury Road. Because Fury Road is fucking awesome. This release kind of sucks. The 4K does not look good, in my opinion. This was one of the first 4Ks that they were just kind of rushing out, trying to get, oh, we're the first 4K release. It's kind of like Terminator 2, which is like infamously the worst 4K release ever. Like, it's a digital, like, rip that they upscale to 4K, and they pretend like it's a whole new restoration, but it's not. And James Cameron doesn't care enough to, like, do that. So, it kind of sucks because I think Fury Road would look really fucking good on true 4K. Because it's that tornado scene or whatever, the dust storm scene. That's the only part that looks really fucking good on 4K when all the lightning and fires are going off. That's the only part
That's
I
a
like in
badass
4K.
scene.
Yeah. And also you got Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron, so that's always good. They're awesome.
Yeah, good actor and actress there.
Yeah, I didn't talk as long as I thought I would, but yeah, that's my first choice. My least favorite of the bunch, so you can see it's only gonna go up from here.
And that's a banger right there to me. So I'm I'm glad you. I like to watch your insight because you give like extra, like you study the film. Like you told me a lot of stuff there I didn't even know about the film. Like
Yeah, that's
the fights, all that. That's interesting stuff.
yeah, because I was really kind of like, okay, I've seen this movie a bunch of times. My history with it is that I first saw it when I was like 8 or 9, when everybody watches it on TV. I was like, oh, this movie's awesome, but it's a little boring. Like, I love the first few minutes and, like, when he goes on revenge. I always thought his revenge was halfway through the movie. And kind of like I Spit on Your Grave, for the first half is the rape, and then the second half is the revenge. Not in this movie. And then so when I was like 12, I rewatched it again because I was like, have I seen this? I don't think so. And I watched it. I was like, no, I've seen this. It's okay. It's a little boring. And then I watched it again when I was in school when Fury Road came out because I saw it in theaters and I was like, wow, that was awesome. But I don't have the, I guess the knowledge of movie making to understand why I love it. And I rewatched it in college after I'd taken a few classes. I was like, no, yeah, this movie's pretty fucking awesome. And Fury Road was. And I rewatched the original one after watching Fury Road, and I rewatched all of them and watched new 2 and 3. Which I guess there's 4. Which one's the PG-13 one that everyone hates? Is that number 4? That doesn't sound right to me.
Mhm. Uh, I'm not sure.
Or is
It couldn't be
Thunderdome in number
Thunderdome,
2?
right? Because Thunderdome's the more. I think that it's not the tame. It's the tamest one. Well, I don't know if it would be PG. It's still got a lot of brutal stuff though.
Yeah, I really like Thunderdome because
I'm
you
not
had
sure.
the little person on the giant like guy, and they're like duking it out. Like,
They're swinging across and all that, doing
yeah,
flips. And,
I remember really liking that one, but I don't think that's the PG-13 one, unless he escapes from Thunderdome and then goes to the weird jungle. Although he does find an airplane, which was a lot of fun, and they actually made it post-apocalyptic in that movie. I guess Road Warrior kind of does too, but I think that movie especially was like, okay, this is a post-society like movie. Which Fury Road blasts that out of the park too. They're like, this is post-apocalyptic. There's no water on this earth. This fucking capitalist is holding all the water. It's like, here's the
yeah,
setting. Like,
that's
go.
awesome.
So,
I like the guys on the guitar. They're just playing that guy on the guitar, and there's flames coming out, and it's just good visual effects all around in that film.
watching that movie with surround sound is a treat. I saw that in theaters. I don't know if you did, but oh
Oh
my
wow!
god. That movie was awesome in theaters.
No, I think I rented it and then bought it.
I want to like grab the best headphones I can find and just watch them. Because I don't think I can do surround sound here. I have nowhere behind me to put speakers. But if I had surround sound headphones on, oh my god. It'd be like almost reliving
Oh,
it.
yeah. It'd be a treat for sure.
So yeah. What's your next one? Or your first one, I guess.
First one. Okay, I'm gonna go again from worst to best. So I'll start with the one I least liked, and then go down the go down the road. But it's gonna be a 1986 post-apocalyptic. I cannot talk here. Post-apocalyptic film, and it's gonna be Land of Doom. And this is a B movie, and it's pretty much the planet's destroyed by a Holocaust. You hear all this. There's
Ooh.
different stuff going on there. You got gangs wandering the wastelands. They kind of look like they're wearing leather as well. Kind of look like I don't know if you watch wrestling in the '90s. The Demolition Man crew. They look like that, like with the leather and the spikes. There is a lot of rapey scenes in this, but not really explicit. But they are. You do see some women getting raped in this film, so it won't be for everyone there.
Mm-hmm.
Probably no one, but you know what I mean. It's got some of that. The gangs look cool. You got a leader that has like the film there. I don't know. There. Apologize for that glare, man. But right there, you can see his mask. It looks really cool. It's like half leather. It's got the
Oh
spikes.
yeah. Okay.
This is the addition from from Scorpion releasings. You could get this one.
Ooh.
Um,
That's a company I need to get into.
it has like cool costumes, and the stories. It's all over the place, but it's real B movie-ish. You get some solid effects. You have like uh, fingers getting cut off. You have a head decapitation. It's really low budget, but it's all practical effects, which I like. And the shootouts are pretty interesting too. The soundtrack on this is awesome. It reminded me a lot of Italian post-apocalyptic, like a bombing soundtrack, like Goblin, like, which really got me in the film. But at the end of the day, I just got to say the soundtrack is better than the film because this is a bad movie. But you got Deborah Renard. She played in I don't know if you've seen Lionheart with Van Damme. She's like the snotty rich girl, and she's also in the show Dallas. She was popular for that in the '90s.
Hmm.
A blonde, because she's the main character in here, and this is it goes a lot towards the woman being the strong character in this film, and she'll
Ooh.
explain on the extras. That's why she took the film because
That's
they
good.
put her as a strong female cast. Yeah, she's like she's the main star, and the guy's actually the sidekick, the male. So it gives that strong female, leading role pretty much. But they definitely the director says that he was inspired by Mad Max. That's why he made this film.
I'm
But
not
he didn't have
surprised.
he straight up said I didn't have the budget that those films had, so don't look for that kind of budget. But I mean, this film is fun. It's real B movie-ish, and I mean, there's a guy with a flamethrower burning guys, lighting them on fire. I thought that was real cool. You see people on fire running around, stunt people and stuff. So I mean, it does deliver for the budget and the low budget on this. It does have some good effects in it. Only thing is the story ends and doesn't explain everything. I really get irritated with movies like that. And it left me wondering, you don't have that like final battle between like the good and the bad. It just cuts off. I thought that was a disappointment. So I was like, oh man, it's gonna bring this film down a lot of notches for me because I want a good payoff in the end. It doesn't explain that, but it's real interesting because this was filmed in Turkey,
Oh
and I
wow.
guess she was traveling there. She had never been there, so the main star Deborah, it's kind of a story where she's walking down to the post office, I guess, to mail some out, and all these like Turkish people. She said they live like kind of like in a village, where they're just not that wealthy. They're like low, kind of poor a little bit. They're all following her, and she's like, what do they want from me? They keep staring at me, so they're walking with her the whole way, and she's like, can I help you? She asked them. She just went, and they're like, you're from Dallas. They knew my show that I was on. They
Oh.
knew me, so they're over there all stunned. She's like, I was so thrilled that they knew who I was in my show in Turkey. She said, that's when it really struck me that
I got
I made
nervous
it.
for a second.
Yeah. So she's like, oh, I didn't know what to say after that. So she's all, they do watch my show in Turkey. So it was like interesting she's all that made my whole career. It stayed with me like why we're actresses and we get, appreciated for our films and all that. She tells a story. And the other thing is she's a attractive lady and this director didn't put her out there. Like how they put in apocalyptic movies. I cannot talk here. Apocalyptic movies, they have them has a sex symbol pretty much. You'll see the girl with like cut off clothes. And here
Yeah.
she's not. She's like kind of like wearing pretty much a outfit similar to Han Solo, like Star Wars. It's like a raggedy outfit, and she said that there's only one scene where she's swading a guy in to pretty much kill him, and she puts her leg up to show it, and he follows her, and that's the only time they put her as a sex symbol in the film, and then she kills him. But she said she really enjoyed this film. It was one of her first films, and she's really proud of it. I saw in there. And overall, I'd give it a 3 out of 5 just for the budget because it does have ambition. It just the story fails for me, but I love the soundtrack. I mean, the soundtrack was way better than the movie, so that's why it's first there because you know the story all around just didn't deliver for me. But it's a fun film, worth the watch. But that's pretty much all I got to say on that.
Yeah, I guess it goes without saying that a better movie would be Mad Max. I think for anything like that, it's always going to be Mad Max.
The director even praises. He's like, I came after this film just because of Mad Max. He says, but we didn't have the budget. He said we couldn't do that type of film.
I will say that while watching the supplements, I thought they were funded. No, they weren't really at all. They had no money for Mad Max. They used like pocket money to get Mad Max's outfit, and then they just went to like the most random stores to buy clothes, like thrift stores. And then they for all the cars, they bought really cheap cars and just painted them like just enough to where they could drive for like a scene. And then they blew them up or whatever, just loaded it up with the gasoline and just were like, okay, crash it, and nobody be in the car. So they would drop a brick onto the pedal and it would just fucking go 100 miles an hour and just slam and flip and debris goes everywhere, and they're like, okay, we got the shot, leave. And they would drive the other way to try and not get arrested. Because they were doing, like, they had someone, 5 miles down the road on this, like, one stretch of highway. And they had another guy 5 miles the other way. And they were like, okay, no cops, film the scene. And they had, like, 5 to 10 minutes at most to film most of these car crashes. Because once they did it and it went up in flames, they were like, okay, we gotta go. Go. Don't have any proof that we were here. And they would go.
And I did say Mad Max, but it could have been a sequel where they had more money. It could have been like, I don't know if they meant Fury Road.
Yeah.
It doesn't really. He might have meant that film, which was on a higher budget.
Yeah, Road Warrior is basically the same movie, but a lot better made. So that's why I like it a lot more. This one is just so interesting because it, for some reason, became the movie for 2 decades that every Italian person ripped off of. Every director in Italy had to make the Mad Max movie. And there were so many awful ones. There's like a few pretty good ones.
I got a lot of those in my collection, so the Italian ones. Which are rip-offs, straight up Mad Max rip-offs.
It's always BDSM gear too. I don't know why they all had to have that, but so I can go into my next one. This is one that I put as number 2, just to troll, not really troll everyone, but to shock everybody with what my best one is. But this is a movie that falls into both categories of post-apocalyptic and dystopian. This is a movie I love by Terry Gilliam. It's always been an absolute hazy dream throughout my entire life, this movie. Because the first time I watched it was with my dad on TV when I was like 8. I was like, wow, this movie's awesome. It's a sci-fi movie. I was like, that was pretty cool. And then I forgot it existed, but throughout my entire fucking life, until I rediscovered it on Era Video, I have seen, like, the entire movie in my head. I'm like, what is that movie called? And it has Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt. Maybe you know it. But this is the amazing movie, 12 Monkeys. I love this movie. And this is my number 2 spot. So my number 1 spot is going to be pretty fucking awesome. But this was one of my first Era Video releases. This is in the era of awesome slipcovers that they had, where it's just fucking badass. and this is the theatrical cover. I did switch out the transparent case because it has a slip cover, so I can cover it up. But this release is fucking crazy. I'm trying to get the slip cover back on. There it goes. But it's one of those era videos where they have an entire paragraph dedicated to the special features. And they're all really good. I did not listen to the audio commentary. They have one of them with the director. And the director, I've seen all of his movies. Maybe one day I'll do a huge video about all his movies. But this movie is 1995. After he did The Fisher King, which is another awesome movie with Robin Williams, Jeff Bridges. And that movie is released by Criterion. Most of his movies are by Criterion or Arrow, except for The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, which is probably my favorite one. He also did Monty Python, The Holy Grail. That was his first movie. And with how awesome that movie was, he was just talented from the beginning. Part of the Monty Python crew. So the thing that plagues his entire life from Monty Python all the way to now, where he's in his 70s and he's still having issues with this, is nobody gives him enough money to realize his dreams. And so he has to do the bare minimum sometimes in order to get other sequences in the movie to be wonderful. You can see this in his famous movie called The Life of Don Quixote, I believe is the title. It has to do with Don Quixote, and that just came out after 40 years of him making the movie. Originally, he was going to have fucking Orson Welles in the movie playing Don Quixote, and it just kept going. Nobody would give him money. When people would give him money, a hurricane would come by and destroy all his sets. And then eventually you have fucking Adam Driver from the sequels of the Star Wars movies being in the movie because it took him so long. And this movie was no different. Nobody gave him money for this movie. And this was the first time that he actually became successful from a movie. Because the movie he did before this was The Fisher King, which got nominated for Oscars because of Robin Williams. He's just fucking awesome in that movie. And what this movie is about, I just copy and pasted the description from the Era video. They call it a surrealistic tale of a brutal, sadistic future where a terrible 1996 plague has killed 5 billion people and left the surface of the planet inhabitable, leaving the scarred survivors of this global holocaust to recreate their civilization underground. In a desperate attempt to undo the horrible damage, the grim overlords of the future send imprisoned volunteers back in time to prevent a terroristic extreme animal rights organization called the Army of the 12 Monkeys from unleashing the virus that will single-handedly wipe out most of humanity. That should tell you enough about how awesome the story is to this movie. Every scene in this movie matters. And it's 2 hours and 10 minutes, roughly. It's a long fucking movie. All my movies, aside from Mad Max, were like 2+ hour gauntlets. And the volunteer that we follow is Bruce Willis, who is haunted by events that he saw in his childhood, where he saw masked gunmen at an airport shoot like security guards and they killed him. And throughout the entire movie, he's trying to figure out any information about this organization and is trying to prevent the plague from killing the Earth in the future of the 2000s. And he meets a character named Jeffrey, who is played by Brad Pitt, and he is fucking awesome in this movie. Up until this point, and he talks about this in the supplements, They had a like 2-hour documentary about this movie, and it was really fucking good. So when I talk about that I had a 4.5-hour night with just one movie, this was it. This was me watching everything on it.
Yeah.
It was a gauntlet. Like, that's all I did when I went home from work was I sat down. I think I had an early dinner at like 5:30, and then I just watched it straight all the way till like 11 p.m. Just everything to do with this movie. But they talk about how Brad Pitt was a really risky move because up until then, he was just hot guy that everybody wanted in his movie. Except he wasn't like world famous by this point. So they hired him right before he did Interviews with a Vampire, which I haven't seen, but that's kind of what boosted him into world like famousness. And like a week or two after they started filming, that movie won like Oscars and stuff for his role, and he got named, you know, Hot Man of the Year or whatever. And so every time they started filming, people would like run onto the set because they were in like Philadelphia filming on in the city, just like going up and down roads and stuff with Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis. And this is just after Die Hard, so not only were kids breaking onto the set to try and see Bruce Willis, but all these single women and married women were just walking onto set being like, where's Brad Pitt? He's so hot, I love him, I want him to have sex with me. And they have videos because they had someone on set with like a camera, like just recording everything for this documentary, knowing they were gonna do like a big release one day. And there are people walking on set with like giant portraits of Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt like hung around the neck on like a chain, just hanging. And it's like, we want to see Brad Pitt, we want to see Bruce Willis. And Terry Gilliam is like trying to push people away so the camera can keep filming. Like, he is just plagued with bad luck. But Brad Pitt's character is a mental asylum patient. And this was a movie that he insisted on being on because he didn't want to be typecasted as Hot Man anymore. He wanted to be a serious actor. And so did Bruce Willis. And Terry Gilliam was like, fuck no, I don't want any of them because they are way too popular. They don't have the acting range for it. And Bruce Willis, like, ever since he saw Brazil, which is probably the most dystopian. I almost saw that, but it's so dystopian and depressing that I didn't want to rewatch it. It's a really depressing movie. But this movie has a little bit of hope and stuff. But that movie is just pure, you know, sleaze and depression, the entire movie. But Bruce Willis wanted to be in a Terry Gilliam movie ever since that one. And so every time that there was a casting call, he was like, audition me. And he was like, no, you do not have the acting range. You are action guy from Die Hard. Like, he was like, fuck. So finally, he went out to dinner with Bruce Willis and was like, okay, read this scene. And he read it and realized, okay, he maybe has something. And this is around the time when Brad Pitt wanted to be on a Terry Gilliam movie. And so he had dinner with Brad Pitt and was like, okay, you know, send me your audition with this, you know, script or whatever, with this scene. And Brad Pitt did it, and he was the worst. and because he plays a mental patient, so he's like really like unstable the entire movie. And the acting coach who he had was like, oh my god, he can't do this, like, this is awful. Like, this character has to be rambling for like 10 minutes at a time without taking a single breath. And so they made him quit smoking in order to even have the lung capacity to act in this movie. And then they hired somebody to just have him do his things, because the entire movie he is with his hands talking and just rambling. And they trained him for like a month like every single day for 8 hours a day acting to get him ready for this. And he finally got to a level where Terry Gilliam was like, okay, yeah, you can be in my movie. And he won an Oscar for this movie because he was so fucking good. And I love the documentary on this release because it's fly on the wall. They don't really interview anybody. It's just someone with a camera following them. They stitch it together. And every now and then they have people come on and talk, like the director, present day, when they made this release. They have the director of photography. They have the producers. They have everyone. I wish they had Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt, but, I mean, it's 2016 when this release came out. 2018, so they didn't get him. But, they had really weird marketing for this movie. There was a whole bit on the documentary where they talked about choosing posters. They just duct taped on like posters to buses and were like, the monkeys are coming. Like, that's all it said. It didn't give like a movie name. It didn't give like a date for the movie, like nothing. It just said like, the monkeys are coming on like the side of a bus. And people are like, what the fuck is this? The monkeys are coming?
Is it Planet of the Apes or what is it?
Yeah, like nobody knew what was going on. And Terry Gilliam was like, this is perfect. We're going to do this. And then it's just so funny to hear him talk because every movie of his never goes the way he wants. Because they never give him enough money. They never give him the time to make it. Natural disasters interrupt the movie. I mean, the Don Quixote movie is just so fun to watch if you know all the behind the scenes. I mean, he's been trying to make that movie for 40 years since he started filmmaking. Wow. And he just got it done, finally. Because hurricanes kept coming by and destroying his fucking sets. His multi-million-dollar sets.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for the guy, but all his movies are wonderful. They are awesome. What's funny with the movie is that Terry Gilliam was known as the long movie guy because Monty Python is like an hour and a half, like it's average. And then Brazil is like 2.5 hours of depression. And after he made that movie, he made The Fisher King, which is awesome. But again, it's like 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 15 minutes. With Robin Williams screaming incoherently for most of it. Because he's a crazy man who witnessed his wife get murdered by shotgun while on the like 10th anniversary dinner. Like, it's a crazy fucked up movie. But when he got the green light to make the movie, the producers were like, you have to keep it under 2 hours and 15 minutes and it cannot be R-rated. And so what he did instead was that he had it be R-rated, but he got it at like 2 hours and like 12 minutes, like right there at the 2 hours and 15 minute limit. And they were like, oh, fuck it. You got Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis. We'll make our money back, so we'll just release it. And they actually took out the ending of it for some reason because it didn't test well with audiences. And Terry Gilliam was like, what the fuck?
Oh, wow.
And so thankfully he had Final Cut, which is a process of, I guess, post-production before you release it, is that you can make deals with the producers. Was like, with this movie, it was keep it not R-rated and under 2 hours, 15 minutes, and we'll give you Final Cut. Whatever you make and whatever goes out to theaters is your cut. And this is why the David Lynch Dune movie was so awful, because he didn't have that. He was a new director in terms of the Hollywood system. And he was like, oh, yeah, I don't really need Final Cut. I'll make a good movie. And then he made his movie, and they cut the shit out of that movie and fucked with everything in Dune and released it to the point where he had the director's cut, which is what they released in theaters or whatever, and he made them change the director's name to Alan Smithy, which I don't know if you know this phenomenon, but if a director hates a fucking movie, they request to be credited as Alan Smithy. And Terry Gilliam almost did that when they took out his ending. They were like, okay, don't put my fucking name on this then. Credit it as Alan Smithy. But thankfully, they let him keep his ending, and it worked really fucking well. And what's funny about the ending is that he didn't even want it himself. It was the editor or somebody, or like a producer, who wanted the ending. And I'm not going to say it because it's really good. But he was like, fuck no, I don't want to do that. And finally he was like, okay, fine, we'll do this. But I want the entire world being shown. I want it to be like 1,000 feet up in the air with the camera like slowly going down and following, our characters. And he was like, okay. And he was like, fuck. Because he was trying to make it so expensive that they would say no. But they said yes instead. They filmed it. And he was like, okay, yeah, that was actually a pretty awesome ending. And so he kept it. And so what's really funny about the behind the scenes in the documentary section is Gilliam just continually yelling, fuck, no matter who was around. Producers, children acting in the movie. He would just go, fuck you, like, piece of shit, fuck this set. And all the stuff, because he would get a phone call, like a producer, and it's like, hey, we can't give you the, $100 for this costume. And he'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? $100? Like, give me my money. Like, she's just getting fucked over the entire filming of this movie. But, yeah, that's all my notes. But yeah, this movie is fucking awesome. I don't know if the slipcover is still around. It is awesome. I love the slipcover. I wish I had the brain. Nice. Yeah, I wish I had the brain damage one. I wish I had. Is there a seagull above the fuck? Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
Oh my god! I was just sitting here like thinking. I just heard a seagull above me. That was weird. But yeah,
it's the birds, man. The birds are coming for you.
Oh god, I hope Hitchcock's nowhere near me. But yeah, this is the heyday of the arrow slip arrow where they had that little hole.
I missed out on that. I don't got that.
Yeah, it is awesome. But yeah, this movie is just insanity. Have you seen it?
I haven't. No. So yeah, I was really paying attention because I don't know nothing about this film.
Oh, it's awesome. But I'm trying to think. There's some pretty fun sequences throughout the movie of time traveling. And again, they had no money making this movie, so that all the time travel stuff looks really goofy. But it adds on to the dystopian factor really well. So, yeah. That's my number 2 to 1995.
It just went on my watch list now to wish list to pick up. So
good. It's a really great movie.
I've heard of the film before. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. So actually, I looked up the director as you were talking about him, Terry Gilliam, and the only film I've seen is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That weird film.
Yeah, that movie is great.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Tideland is another Arrow Video one. That one is really fucked up. That movie like made me sick to my stomach at the end of the movie. Like his movies have that like quality to all of them, but like especially that one. Like you just gotta watch it. I can't say more, but that movie made me feel sick at the end. It is incredible.
Another one going to the list that I haven't seen.
I'm trying to think any other movies by him that are really good. Brazil is that's probably his best movie, but it's very depressing. It's on Criterion. A lot of them are. Time Bandits is okay. That's a kid's movie he made. That is just okay. It's on Criterion also. Monty Python the Holy Grail does not have a good Blu-ray. Criterion needs to step up and release that one because they released it on what's it called? It's a really old. It's before VHS. Laserdisc. They released a Laserdisc of Holy Grail on Criterion in the early days, but I think that's all the movies. Fisher King is really good. That's Robin Williams.
I haven't seen that one either.
The Adventures of Barry Munchausen is really fucking good. Dr. Parnassus, that's one of the last movies that the Batman Joker guy did. I forgot his name. But
I've seen Jupiter Ascending.
Oh, he did that? No way. There's no way he did that. That's too good of a movie for him.
It doesn't show it. It's on his list, but he's not the director.
Oh, that's the Wachowski sisters. Okay. Oh, he's an actor in it. Yeah. I'm on Letterboxd looking him up. You can go down and it says films as director. Jabberwocky is really funny. Okay. That's a Criterion one. And the other ones are documentaries and stuff. Brothers Grimm, I did not know he did that one. I remember that one being really good.
On the list too.
Yeah, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. Yeah, that's the one that took 40 years. It's an okay movie. The documentary about it is a lot more interesting. Mm-hmm. The Meaning of Life, that one's hilarious. That one is on Criterion DVD, which I have. Which I need to add that to the list of DVDs needed to be upgraded.
Definitely look out for him because I haven't seen too much on him at all. Really nothing. Just Fear and Loathing is the only film I've seen on that list.
Well, they're all amazing, so we'll put that up on the finished stack. So, what's next for you?
So, get into my second film here, and this is going to be a 90s dystopian type film.
Ooh.
First time watch for me on this one. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. I'm going to go with 1995 Strange Days. And this is directed by Catherine Bigelow. And she's a female director who I haven't seen much of that directs action films. She's into the action genre. You usually see nothing but males. And I guess she's big time. She's directed she directed Near Dark, one of my favorite vampire movies from the 80s. She directed The Hurt Locker, the military film from 2008.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good movie. And this is written by James Cameron. That's what sold me more.
Oh my god.
So, I was like right away, Terminator, come on, let's go. Avatar, all that, what he's done. But this has a great cast in it. We got Juliette Lewis, Natural Born Killers, Angela Bassett, Boys in the Hood, Tom Sizemore from Lockup. This is basically a thriller. It's set on I know you heard of I2K from 2000. That
I remember it happening.
Is about. Well, pretty much the world's supposed to end on New Year's Eve on December 31st, 1999. I was drinking 40s when that was happening, so if it's gonna end, I'm going out.
That was only 22 years ago.
Only 22 years ago, a young Leon here drinking 40s, man. Let's see. So this is, like I said, 1999. It's building up to the end of the world, supposedly, at New Year's Eve. And we got this. It's based on virtual reality. There's a thing going around. You got a guy that's an ex-cop, and now he's a street hustler. And he's kind of selling these virtual reality sets. They go on your head. And they pretty much give everyone their fantasy, whatever you want, whatever girl you want. You want to be someone.
That's like Sex World.
You want to. Yeah. Well, I haven't seen that, but yeah. So he's selling these him and a guy out of a van. They make him. And you got this little disc. They put it on, and pretty much will make you go into a scene, anything you want, a memory from your life, you could go back to it, relive it. And it's like a drug, it gives you a high or whatever. You get intimate with a girl, you actually feel like it. You could even be the girl getting it from a guy. There's some guys that like that in the film. So it's just a real crazy film, but the clubs are cool. I like the clubs in these films because they're like on it's real post-apocalyptic because you got clubs like in freaking like how would I say it, like garage sites, you have like iron fences, something that would be outdoor, like a dump
Oh.
yard. It's a club, so it's real cool. I really like that. And then you got like so this ex-cop, he's pretty much selling these devices and he's making money. His life's a mess. You could tell he has some tragedy, but then he meets his best friend is what's her name? Angela Bassett. She's like his tough girl. She plays that tough girl. She's a limo driver, and they're pretty much going through the city as they're going on. You got like he gets one of those CDs delivered to his house where he collects them to sell them. He puts it on, he tries it out, and it's pretty much a murder. He goes into a murder that happened during this. So now he's got like a serial killer delivering him these virtual reality CDs of every murder he's doing around the city. And this guy's no joke. He's a rapist. He rapes the girl pretty much, and then he kills her afterwards.
Yeah.
And he puts it on the CD. And he's purposely sending him to him for a reason. So you got him trying to, he's going back to his cop ways, trying to find out what's going on, but he's a mess as well. So they team up, and he's got a girlfriend that left him pretty much for a rock producer because she wanted to be like a rock star, and he promised her, and she still has feelings. He still has feelings for her. It's Juliette Lewis, and it turns out she's the next victim. The serial killer's for after her next, so he's got to go, and protect her and find it. Then he's in a rival with her boyfriend. They don't like each other, and he's kind of a bad guy as well. And he's got her hooked to drugs and all this stuff. But what was really interesting is this virtual reality is a drug. It gets him high. You see people even tweaking for it. Like, I need another CD. Tell me CD.
Oh, God.
I'll give you this or that. It's like real hilarious.
Sounds
you got,
dated.
I'm from the night. It's dated. You got 90s pop. I'm just going to that. You got 90s hip hop. You got house parties from the 90s. It's just, that's where I grew up. So could appreciate that. And, it's just real interesting story. And then you got a murder of a big time rapper. He's like a rapper from the future, which is funny because it's 1999, so it's not the future when you're watching this. But he gets murdered, so that it's all led to this killer, and it goes to like a police brutality, which is still relevant today. What's happening now with the cops killing these black people? It's real strong in this story as well.
Unarmed.
And
Unarmed black people.
And minorities period or whatever is going on. You know what I mean? But this film could still be relevant today. Yeah, but I just really enjoyed this film because I'm one of those that really likes crime films and like serial killers and breaking it down. This has a good story to it. And you got this guy who's real creepy, man. He goes around in that virtual reality and he puts you could see the mask on and he's real breathing heavy, and he's just like a creep, and he's taking out these women. And
Michael Myers.
you feel it. Yeah, you feel it. Like, I just like these kind of stories. But overall, this one I enjoyed a lot. Probably give it a 4 out of 5. Strange Days from 1995, mid 90s.
Same year as 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, there wasn't any supplements in this disc, so I don't really have nothing to talk about on those. But I'm glad I saw this film because I had seen it around, but I never got around to it. And it's my cup of tea right there. I like them serial killer movies and set in dystopian times. Well, not now because it's 1999 back then, which you don't see too many times around Y2K because I remember that was a big thing back in '99 and everyone was panicky. And
I know the Family Guy episode.
Yeah, it's real solid film, all around action. You have shootouts, car chases that are awesome, and it's an action flick as well that'll keep you entertained.
Well, all I think of when I hear "Strange Days" is the album by The Doors. About
Yeah.
It's just like the Vinegar Syndrome, "Perfect Strangers." That movie is also a song by Pink Floyd, I believe, or Deep Purple.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those titles where I'm like, wait, isn't that music related?
And it's funny because in this movie it's James Cameron, and you kind of hear like a song that sounds kind of like Terminator in the film. Like you hear the
Dun,
beat. Yeah.
Dun,
Dun
dun.
dun. And
Dun
I'm like,
dun 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 dun. Yeah.
I'm saying, is this going Terminator or what the fuck, you know? But
Oh.
definitely has its touch on the film.
Well, I guess I don't need to ask for a better movie because that's 4 out of 5. So
Yeah, I recommend it if you're into that type of film, like serial killers and action shootouts, and it's a lot of fun.
well, great. Well, shall I go into my number 1, which is going to be an hour long lecture?
Uh-oh, get to it. I better start writing notes.
This is one that I don't think anyone's going to expect, because I actually was jokingly stretching the definition that this was dystopian. But shockingly, this is a really beefy set and release, because I got this on a exchange, like a gift exchange, way back in the day on Reddit, where you upload to the film collectors subreddit your Amazon wish list. And I just had this movie on there, and they bought me like the super edition, which I wasn't expecting. Nice. And I'm very happy. It's a 3-disc Blu-ray. It has a black and white version of the movie, it has a normal color version, and then the DVD, along with a digital code. I don't know if that's still in print, but I am talking about, of course, Logan.
Nice.
I don't think anyone expected this one. It's a Wolverine Marvel movie.
I definitely didn't.
Have you seen this one?
Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah.
Okay, good. So I don't have to focus on the story at all, because I have nothing to say about the story. It's very classic. I have my notes out now, but I was very curious about this movie because I resisted it, its entire existence, because I didn't think that they could do justice to the final Hugh Jackman Wolverine movie. It is obvious what that means. That's his final movie. He dies, okay? He's dead at the end of the movie.
Very sad.
Yeah, and I loved this movie the first time I watched this. And I rewatched it very soon after that, and I was kind of like, yeah, it's okay. But I have the Super Edition with the slipcover. It has 3 discs. It is massive. It has the black and white. This is what I watched for the first time 2 nights ago, I believe, or last night. Yeah, last night. And the thing that drives me crazy is that this movie is very colorful, as you can see on the slipcover. And so I was worried about the black and white version. And there are specific sequences that were imagined as black and white, as the director talks about. Because how this idea came about is that the director and Hugh Jackman were like, fuck Marvel, we are done with this. We've been doing this for 20 fucking years. I want to be done with this. Hugh Jackman, he had a 16-year-old son on set with him during this movie that wasn't alive when he did the first Wolverine movie. So he was kind of like, okay, I'm feeling my age a bit. Like, with my 16-year-old son here who wasn't alive during the first X-Men movie. And so he and the director were like, how about we do a send-off? And we do a very heavy character study on Wolverine and having to live for over 200 years as a killing machine who is sick, who's an alcoholic, who's a piece of shit. He doesn't care about anyone. because everyone he cares about is murdered very soon after he finally, like, feels a human connection. And so they talked about how they leaned on the X-23 comic, which I guess is more about his daughter, because, spoiler alert, he has a daughter in this movie who's actually grown from, like, a lab. And she is awesome in this movie. The actress is Daphne Keane, which I'll talk more about later, but the understanding that everyone has that this movie took from Old Man Logan, which is a comic that everyone loves, and Hugh Jackman read it and was kind of like, yeah, it's really good, you know, we'll take the setting from that movie, which is from 2029 is the year that this movie takes place, so still futuristic for us. There's automated vehicles in the movie, there's automated delivery trucks in this movie, and they basically said that they chose a dystopian setting, so I felt justified, because I was going to stretch the definition. It was like, well, it's kind of dystopian, but they said it themselves, this is a dystopian movie. And the director and Hugh Jackman watched hundreds of Western movies to try and nail the Western aesthetic, along with the themes of the Western, because every Western movie ever is super small scale. Oh no, the bandits are coming to take over our farm. What shall we do? Let's get John Wayne in here and fuck him up. It's basically the same thing with this movie. A crew of people come to capture our main character's daughter, which is a very Western trope of the daughter of the innkeeper, the daughter of our main character being kidnapped. They come to do that, and everything in this movie is sand colored and, you know, desert colored. So the cinematographer for this movie said he loved doing this movie because originally they were gonna have the movie start in Kentucky, and the little building complex that they have, that Wolverine, Professor X, and Charlie Bond, I don't remember his name, but he's like the vampire looking guy. The complex that they're all at originally was going to be a whiskey factory where they were aging whiskey, and Charles Xavier was going to be in giant, like, aging barrel. And they were like, you know what? No, that's not enough of a trip. So we're going to move it to south of the border to El Paso, which I thought was in Texas, but oh well. So they moved it to there, and they were like, oh my god. The cinematographer was like, holy shit, we can tell the story color in terms of colors. And so in the beginning of the movie, this is the color scheme. It's all yellow. It's all yellow and orange and awesome. And by the end of the movie, it's very green, kind of to show growth and rejuvenation and all that. While in the beginning of the movie, it's yellow for death, desert, dried up, just like our character Wolverine. And so it's just another layer upon layers of this fucking movie that the director, Hugh Jackman, the cinematographer were able to do. Wolverine himself is very much a Western trope. He's the outlaw, but he has a good moral code. And this is all stuff they talk about in the behind the scenes. The hour and a half documentary that is in... I did not know there was a documentary attached to this release. And I read that and I was like, holy shit. And I immediately watched that and then watched the movie. So another 4.5 hour night that I had watching Logan. And so it's so funny because the director said he had Mad Max on his mind when making this movie, which I just realized I wrote that down. I wrote that down. And I just watched Mad Max today. Mad Max was not on my mind. But I think after he said that, I was like, I gotta watch Mad Max now. And he said he had that in his mind, a road movie where our villains keep coming in and out of the story to pester our main character. And I just kind of realized that, like, wow, okay, like, my movies come full circle here. But Daphne Keene is the daughter of Wolverine. I don't think anyone cares about spoilers. They say that in the first 15 minutes of the movie. So, whatever. They had her, for the most part, as a hook for future movies, which, as of filming right now in 2022 January, still hasn't happened. We still haven't gotten, young X-Men or whatever that story is. But what's my favorite thing about this movie, which Hugh Jackman likes a lot too, is that Wolverine is a totally fucked up character throughout the entirety of this movie. He is sick. He's an alcoholic. He is pessimistic about everything. He's not close with everybody. By this point of the story, he has seen the entirety of the X-Men, the entirety of the school get bombed, all of them killed in cold blood, and he and Professor X are just living out in the desert, just biding their time. He is saving up money to go onto a cruise to escape. And the character of Wolverine's daughter is a perfect supplement to his character, because she is just like him, except she's like 11 years old and she's a killing machine, and he has to figure out a way to get her to safety while also not really caring what she does in the beginning, because she's a mute the entire movie until the last 20 minutes or so. And then when she finally talks, she's speaking in Spanish. So he doesn't have the ability to communicate, even after she finally starts communicating. And so it's really awesome. And it reminded me of the classic, and also the remake, I prefer the remake, honestly, of True Grit, where we have our weathered bandit having to take a young girl up as a apprentice, if you will, and having to teach her the ways of being what they are. So in Wolverine's case, a killing machine. And this segues perfectly into my next point, which is Hugh Jackman wanted for his final movie to go as hard, R-rated as he could. So, with the violence. And this movie is fucked up in terms of the violence. Because
it's awesome.
It's so funny because during the documentary, Daphne, the Wolverine's daughter, she's like 11, like in real life, while making this movie. Like, her parents were very famous theater actors in Mexico, I believe. And so when they were doing their casting call for her character, they were like, we need bilingual Mexican children. And that's a very small list. And so she was one of them. And she showed up to do, auditioning. And she was nailing it. Just bam, bam, bam with Hugh Jackman. Because Hugh Jackman's going to be Wolverine. He doesn't need to audition. And he was there for every audition and was doing scenes with her. And at one point she was like, excuse me, can I just improvise? And they were like, oh, okay, sure. Like, kids cannot improvise. Improvising is really fucking hard. I don't know if you've ever just improvised with somebody, like acting. It's really fucking hard. And so they were kind of like, huh, okay, yeah, go ahead. And she did exactly the scene that is shown in the movie that they rewrote using her audition, which was how it's after Professor X is killed, spoilers, about halfway through the movie, and Hugh Jackman's in the car with her, and she just unloads on him. It's like, fuck you, and all this stuff in Spanish. And he's like, shut up, I don't know what the fuck you're saying. Shut the fuck up. Just to this 11-year-old. It's so funny to watch. But all of that, her going off on Spanish and going back into English and then back to Spanish, that was all her and her audition, improvising.
Wow.
And they were like, holy shit, that's way better than what we wrote. We're going to do that. And so they immediately knew, like, she's going to be awesome. And her on-screen chemistry with Hugh Jackman is so awesome, along with Professor X, who is played by Patrick Stewart. And they go into this during the behind the scenes where she's like 11 years old filming around these veteran actors. I mean, Patrick Stewart's been acting for like 60 years since he was in his teens. And there's a point where she was talking about working with Hugh Jackman, how like the first few days he was so scary because he was just, like, just like screaming, yelling fuck you to her, all the stuff like in the movie, not real life. But just all this stuff. And she says like, oh yeah, when they say cut, he becomes like the nicest guy ever. He's so funny, all this stuff. Because every scene with him in this movie is him like just jaded out of his mind, like with how awful his life is, and he has to take care of dementia-ridden Professor X, who is like shitting himself in the movie, and like all this just awful stuff. And at one point, Patrick Stewart has this big acting scene where he goes on a monologue. And he started crying after they said cut. And she's like, oh my God, what's wrong, Patrick Stewart? I'm 11 years old. I don't understand. Explain to me what's going on. And he was like, girl, you need to not do movies. You need to do theater instead. Theater, or in movies, when you do your big scene, you do it once on camera. When you do it in theater, when you have your big, powerful moment that drives audience members to cry, you get to do that every single night for 6 months. It's far more rewarding to do theater. Do theater, don't do movies. And so far, she hasn't really followed him on that advice. She's still doing movies. But I really liked that part of the documentary when they were talking about that scene. Because I love this movie already, and I was kind of curious about the behind the scenes, but I was kind of like, I doubt they did a documentary or did interviews or anything. And then I found an hour-and-a-half documentary on this. And I was like, fuck yes. And so I watched it.
Wow.
And it is insanity. What I love about the character of Laura, who is played by Daphne Keane, daughter of Wolverine, her entire character is for him to face his own demons about who he has become in the future and whether he is able to not go down that route. And so the entire movie is him having to deal with his demons and whether he can love again. And by the end of the movie, there's a great line that they wrote that I think was improvised by Hugh Jackman when they were writing the movie, which is, oh, this is what this feels like. And originally it was like, oh, this is what it means to be a father, or something like that. But they were like, fuck no, we're going to keep it ambiguous. We're going to turn it into, oh, this is what this feels like. So it has 3 meanings that they say. One is, oh, this is what death feels like, because he's dying when he says this. The other one is, oh, this is what it feels like to be loved. Because the entire movie is him not having had a family in 150 years or whatever. And there's a scene in the movie where they all sit down to eat dinner with a farmhand who his water keeps getting shut off because he has racist neighbors who just shut it off, and he has to walk down 2 miles roads in order to turn it back on. And Wolverine follows him and just butchers the entire family that is turning his water off. He's kind of like, yeah, I don't care anymore. Like, when I kill people, I feel nothing. Like, that's how, like, jaded Wolverine is. And so, during that scene, Wolverine's daughter, Patrick Stewart, and Wolverine are all having just a wonderful family dinner. And that's kind of when Wolverine's daughter, for the first time, just has a family dinner, ever, for the first time in her life. And so, that's the second thing is, oh, this is what it feels like to be in a family, or to be loved. And the last one is like, oh, this is what it feels like to have a daughter or something. It was something along the lines that I've said. It was either, oh, this is what it feels like to be a family, or rather to be loved. On top of, oh, this is what it feels like to be dying. And so all that stuff, they were like, yeah, that was the most perfect send-off we could give to Hugh Jackman. Because he just does not want to do it anymore. And I don't blame him. He's been doing it for 20 years. I remember seeing the first movie in 2001. And he finished, I guess, 16 years later in 2017 when this movie came out. But this is probably the most perfect example of how to do this type of movie, of elderly Marvel character. And yeah, this movie is just awesome. I'm just looking at my notes now. Most of the movie is practical. Very few of it is CGI. The only CGI that they have is the blood, because they can't have blood packs exploding around a 11-year-old as she's wielding, her claws and just fucking killing everyone. Because there's a hilarious part of the documentary where the special effects guy comes on set with her toe spikes that she has, because she's a child. She has 2 spikes, because that's all the room she has. And then she has feet spikes. And so the way that they made that was that they had a steel-toed boot and then a steel-toed spike that, when she was standing on her shoe, would push it forward. And so it'd be like no danger to her at all to have this. And so there's the first time that this gang of Army veterans come on with the missing limbs. That's the entire society or organization that is hunting after Wolverine's daughter. Is a bunch of amputees from the government, basically, who have all gotten prosthetics and mechanized limbs. Like, it's a really unique villain that I love. It's really interesting. But during the scene where they come onto the compound of Professor X and Wolverine, she comes out and she becomes just fucking murdering everybody. And there's a part in the behind the scenes where they give her the steel-toed blade for the first time, and her face is just like, fuck yes. And she is just, there's a picture of her that they put onto the documentary, and she's just like, oh. It's like just losing her mind, because she loved doing it. This was her first role ever, like her first acting, theater, movies, TV, anything, and she blew it out of the park. It's fucking
killed it.
Awesome. Yeah. She is great. And I already discussed about the visual storytelling that the cinematographer did, which is at the beginning of the movie, very yellow, and by the end of the movie, it's very green to kind of symbolize rejuvenation, life. Life goes on, stuff like that. And the yellow was to kind of go off the desert, lifeless, dried up, which Wolverine is very dried up in this movie. But they did eventually change it to south of the border, and they turned it into a smelting factory or plant instead of a whiskey factory, which I kind of would have loved the whiskey factory, but I think they were right in the choice to make it south of the border, because they have to get to North Dakota to escape to Canada, which is exactly what Wolverine did in X-Men Origins, which is a pretty awful movie. But in terms of that storyline, that was really kind of clever how it kind of came back around for Wolverine's daughter going to North Dakota and to Canada. But one thing that kind of drove me crazy while watching this movie, while watching the smelting plant, is that was filmed at Albuquerque, New Mexico, which, if you don't know, Breaking Bad was also filmed in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And that set that they were on for the smelting factory, where Wolverine and Professor X were staying, looks exactly like the one that that one of the meth factories or meth labs were at in the later seasons. And they never said anything about it in the behind the scenes. Rather, that was the same set as Breaking Bad. But it looked really fucking similar.
It's 2 hours away from me, Albuquerque.
Well, you need to do some research. I don't know. Do some on the ground.
Yeah, I do.
Because it was driving me crazy.
There's a whole building of Breaking Bad. There's a whole building of Breaking Bad, and it has the character. It has like tons of like shirts and all that. You could go. I think it was a filming location. You could just go in there, and it has like a gift shop and
holy
stuff
shit.
from the movie.
I need to get down there because I love.
I've never seen the show, but
you need to watch it. It's awesome.
I'm slacking on that, man.
It's on Netflix. Just binge it. It's 6 seasons. The first 2 seasons are all set up. So it's like, you know, it's really good. Like, it's still really fucking good. But man, season 3 and on is just perfect. I love Breaking Bad. But what's really fun in this movie is that there's a scene where Xavier has a seizure. You may remember this when he's in the casino. And he starts having a seizure and he freezes time. And everyone's like shaking and the camera is shaking. I didn't know they did this on purpose, but there's an editing program that they used for that scene. Where usually when you just film normally, you put in after the fact a stabilizing thing so that it is smooth and there's no jerkiness. What they did in filming that scene where Wolverine is slowly killing everyone and getting to Professor X is that they had the camera guy do this the entire scene and focus on Wolverine as he walked throughout the entire casino. And then after the fact they stabilized it, but it was still, you know, crazy. And that's how they got that effect where it was like, you know, like of him freezing time and him slowly going through and stabbing people in the face with his claws and like all this stuff. And I never knew they did that. I just assumed they had some filter for that. And that blew me away when they were explaining that special effect. I was like, oh, okay, I did not know they were doing that. But that really makes sense. But my last point is that the music they had was all 70s Italian westerns, like Django and all that. They talked about like Sergio Leone with Once Upon a Time in the West and all those movies, Good, Bad, and the Ugly. So, yeah, this movie's near perfect in my eyes, especially as a superhero movie. It shocks me to this day that there are still people writing off superhero movies because this one's a good example of how you do it right. That, Infinity War, and Endgame, those are the 3, in my opinion. So, yeah, my throat is dead. I just talked for 40 minutes according to my timer.
You did a good breakdown of that film. I mean, I love the film personally too. I'm not a superhero fan, really. I love Batman, that's my favorite. But I really like this film. I watched it because I could watch a trailer and know if the film's like it or not by the style. And like you said, it has that Western feel to it. That's my type of feel to a film. And I said, I gotta see this just by the setting alone. Just feels like my type of thing that I would like. And I wasn't wrong. This film blew me away, man. And that girl actress kills it. She kills the whole film. The daughter.
I mean, she is, by the way.
I was blown away by her acting. Now that you told me, like, how she did it, I'm like, wow, I'm even more blown away. Like, because this film is nearly perfect, like you said. It's perfect adaptation to send Logan Wolverine outing. It did it perfectly. How you picture it.
Yeah, those are part of the
But
really early in the documentary where Hugh Jackman was like, my God, that was really embarrassing doing those early movies because there's always that one scene in each of those movies where Wolverine went fucking insane and would just go violent. And he's like, where the fuck is the blood? I mean, he was like, he hated those movies because he was like, it's Wolverine. Like, there should be blood flying everywhere because he has these steel
slicing
claws.
and dicing.
Yeah. And he said when they were doing that intro scene where the street gang is like taking his tire, he was like, I want that to be the most disgusting, violent scene. And so he gets up, and this is a great scene in general, just showing where he is, where he gets shot in the face with a shotgun. He gets back up and he's like, come on, guys. I really don't want to do this right now. Don't touch my tire. Don't shoot at my car. You know, he's just so jaded by this point.
Badass.
Yeah, and finally they're like, fuck you, white boy, because it's a Mexican street gang. And they start shooting him. He's just like, ah! He just like slits people's throats. He goes up to one guy and punches him with his steel claws out in the face like 6 times. And it's just a hole. It's like, it's so nasty. And he was like,
Brutal.
that was...
Brutal.
Yeah, he and the director were like, this is the scene we have to do in order to show that this is not a kid's movie. This is the scene that we want parents to take the 8-year-olds running out of the theater to show, like, no, this is not a kid's movie. Like, that's the entire purpose of that beginning, as they said. It was so funny to hear them say that.
I know you don't watch trailers, so I saw the trailer of it and I heard Johnny Cash on the trailer and I was sold.
Oh, really?
Ooh. Once I heard Johnny Cash, I was like, this is my type of film, just the style alone. But yeah, I was blown away by this film. I have that same edition you have, that same exact edition.
Yeah, the documentary is awesome. I kept putting my phone down after making a note because I have a long list of notes here. And I kept putting my phone down and be like, okay, stop taking notes. And then they would say something else. And I'm like, I have to say that.
Your page is filling up. You're like, damn it. Well, you have the phone. Me, it's a notebook. My page fills up. I gotta flip it.
But I do not recommend the black and white version, just to kind of wrap that point up. It's good. There are a couple scenes that really knock it out of the park with that western feel, but they really did the color scheme well. As I said, with starting with the yellow, washed out, dry, dead, all the way to the green to show rejuvenation and all that. That's gone in this version of the black and white. You don't see the blood as well. The blood is like the most exciting part. I remember being taken aback the first time I saw this because I was like, there's no way there's gonna be one blood spurt in this R-rated movie just to say it's R-rated. Nope. That intro scene, my jaw hit the ground watching that. He's just fucking stabbing people in the face and then slitting their throats and all this stuff. Like, it blew me away that first time I watched it, and that's the way to watch it, is in color. Yeah. Deadpool, it's R-rated. This movie would not have happened without Deadpool. And they don't really talk about it in the thing. They would just kind of like, we want to do it our way, and the producers like, whatever. As long as you make us money. And they did, so. And everyone loved this one, so.
Yeah. Great film. I agree with you.
I don't think there's anything else. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm done.
Sure. So let me get into my last film here. I'm going to the 90s. You guys, you know me about my action cheese. Well, this is the cheesy of cheese on action, but fun. So Sylvester, and this season you got John Spartan played by Stallone. Of course, he has to have that tough guy name
John
in his
Spartan.
films. You got Wesley Snipes. He's yeah. Imagine John Spartan. How badass of a name is that? You got you got Simon Phoenix. Wesley, what he does it so well, and I definitely see the haircut. It's blonde on Wesley Snipes. I don't know if you could, but definitely inspired Blade because he had this haircut first in this film. We got Sandra Bullock, who was hilarious in this film. But this is in the dystopian future, and pretty much in this future, there's no violence. You can't cuss. You can't pretty much have sex. You can't. There's no violence, or else it's like a perfect future put together. And you got Stallone, John Spartan, Wesley Snipes, frozen. They're frozen and brought back to the future, which is in the year 2032. So it's still future. Um, and you got Wesley Snipes running around in this perfect future, pretty much disrupting it and starting chaos and murdering. Because it's funny when they go to murder, they're like, "Oh my God, it's murder, death, kill. We haven't had that in 19 years." So like, it's like this perfect world, and so they're like, "Who do we bring to stop this guy?" So they unfreeze Sylvester Stallone, who has a history with this guy. He's pretty much, I guess, their prison time, they're frozen and brought back to the future time. So he's this renegade cop who's swearing, cussing, doesn't go by the rules, of course. You see that in the action films. And he comes back and they're like, this guy should be put back. I mean, he has no rules, nothing. He comes back, he's cussing, swearing, like I said, but he's the only guy that can stop this guy. So they're like, going here, and it's funny because in the future, the their luxurious restaurant is Taco Bell. So you got Taco Bell in like the future, and everyone meets there from the city to the judges to the oh, um. But anyways, it brings back that '90s cheese. You got like back and forth cops. You got a cheesy one-liners, and Sandra Bullock is hilarious in this because she's like trying to be renegade. You go to her, she's a police officer as well from the future. You go to her office and she has like a poster of Lethal Weapon on her wall, and then she has like a bunch of like '90s action cheese all over her
Speaking of
office,
Mel
which I
Gibson.
loved. And she's just trying to rebel. Speaking of Mel Gibson and Stallone, these things, he's like, there's a hilarious scene where him and because they're a love interest, Sandra Bullock and him, and I guess in the future you can't do body fluid exchanges. They have to have virtual reality like sex. So you have where they have these headsets on and they're like getting intimate. You
Oh
just
my
got
God.
Stallone like, when are we gonna kiss or what? And it's like it's hilarious, man. And then you got her, oh, the exchange of body fluids that could lead to this and that. And he's like, the way we did it was a good old fashioned kiss. He tells her like that. She's like, ew, grossing out. No. And he's like,
Cuties.
he leaves all depressed out of her apartment. And he's like, just every rules goes out, and it's hilarious because you got a scene where they're in the cop cars. They drive by themselves. They have that automatic driving. They're futuristic cop cars, and they put on these like child songs. You have a song about a hot dog going to a stand, and they're all singing. Him and Sandra Bullock and her partner, and Stallone's in the back, like in disgust, like, "Where's my rock or metal?" You know, he's like, "Let's put something with class." And they look at him. Those are Outland. They're banned from this time, and he's that guy from the '90s that's just because it's funny they call him Caveman. That's his name when he goes to the future. They're like, "Hey, Caveman." He's like, "That's the way I like it," or
awful.
whatever. So they gotta go eat. There's this underground crew that's the poor, and they go against the rules. They're living underground. They're starving, get food. They're fighting the rich class. You got a corrupt politician who actually brought Simon to the future, Wesley Snipes to ruin everything because he has evil intentions. And the only cop to stop him, of course, is John Spartan Stallone. They go in a back and forth
I can't
fight.
get over that name.
It's so cheesy but tough guy. But only way they get weapons, they don't have weapons. They have like a nightstick that electrocutes people, and it doesn't really do nothing. So he has to go to a museum and get automatic machine guns and all that. So they
Oh
go
my
back
God.
over there, they're shooting at each other. And I guess graffiti too. There's a graffiti wall if they catch you.
What is the name of this movie?
Demolition Man.
Oh my God.
I have to do with that. Damn.
I'm adding that to the watch list. That sounds so cheesy.
Oh, it's the cheesy that I live for here. It even has cop cars that get flat tires and they say inflate, so they'll refill up with air. I thought that was pretty cool. And you got like Sandra Bullock, like there's a scene where they're like after the bad guys and Stallone, he has this cheesy one-liner. She's like, "Let's go blow these guys." He's like, they look at her like, "You mean blow up these guys?" And she's like, "Oh,
let's go like, blow these guys."
Yeah, what you said. Let's go blow these guys.
Blow them real good.
Stallone's like, "You better work on your language here." He tells her like that, and then she gets fired as a cop, and she's like, "Okay, Captain, you could shovel it." And Stallone's like, "You mean shove it?" It's got the cheesy one-liners through this film, and it's funny because they go to the underground and everything's like, you got to eat healthy. There's no bad stuff in this future. So Stallone goes underground. They're barbecuing. He's like, "Let me get a burger and a beer. I've been craving this." And the people are like, "Okay," and he's chugging the beer, and then he gets the burger. He's all eating it. He's starving, and Sandra Bullock's character is like, "Do you even know what you're eating? Do you see any cows around?" He's like, "No, but it's good," or whatever. He's munching it. She's like, "Where do you think that meat's coming from?" So he asks the girl, and she tells him in Spanish, "It's meat of a rat." And he's like, "I'm eating a rat?" He looks at it, and they're like grossing out on him. He's like, "This is the best rat I've tasted." So he starts biting it. I'm like, "Oh my God." And then you got Dennis Leary. He's leading the underground group. That guy's I love him from Judgment Day to. He's like one of those sarcastic. He's all, "I want to eat butter. I want to eat cheese. I want high cholesterol," and all this. He's just going off on a rat for the longest time. And Stallone's like, "Man, we're just here to talk to you. You know what I mean?" And he's like, "I love the way I live." He's like, "I want Hustler magazine. I want all this in my life. I want to change it." He's just going off constantly, and it's like real random and out of nowhere. You're just like, "Okay, man, we get what you're saying here, but you didn't have to go a whole 10, 15 minutes about it." It's just, but man, it's a fun film. And I mean, you got a good battle towards the end. These two guys just have a chemistry, Wesley Snipes and Stallone. They're just back and forth with the future, man. I couldn't think of anyone else to talk to that would understand me. Telling him, and Stallone's like, "Yeah, I'm you, and you're telling me that we should bond or whatever." It's just real odd, but yeah, this film's just, man. I give it for me, that 90s cheese. I give it a 5 out of 5 for me. Just love it. It's just one to see. I think it's the underrated Stallone film.
I've actually heard of it.
I like the look of the dystopian future, and it's funny because Taco Bell's like the luxury restaurant. I just got a kick out of that.
No, it's not. That's like when I go
like Taco
drunk.
Bell.
I'm not looking for quality.
The commissioner's like, "Every restaurant's been blown up or put out of misery. The only thing we have left is Taco Bell." And Stallone's like, "Well, I wouldn't mind a burrito." He tells him like that or something.
I like shopping at Taco Bell, and there's like a whole commercial in the movie.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a fun film all around, man. I just turn your brain off and enjoy.
I see it's almost 2 hours. Is the pacing bad?
No, it's not bad because you have action throughout it. I mean, you're not gonna get bored. I mean, you have shootouts. You have. There's even a scene where there's no tissue paper. He goes to the future. And he's like, "Where's the tissue, man? I need, take a dump, whatever." And they're like, "There's three seashells." And he's all, "I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do with three seashells?" And he's like, "Every time you swear, you get a ticket." So he starts going, "I don't." Like it's just bad of cheese. Even at the end, he's asking like Sandra Bullock, "How do you work those three seashells? I never figured that out."
Sounds so
just
bad.
It's just a fun film. Yeah, man, I love it. But it's cheese, man. I'm telling you, that's when I told you I'm watching the cheese of the cheesiest right here, man.
All three of mine are like super serious. I almost did Death Wish 3,
Not
honestly. I was very close to watching that for this.
That's my favorite. It's my favorite out of the franchise.
That one is so cheesy.
Just so over the top fun.
Yeah. But I would have had to go into my depressing lecture about the main actress being like abused during the filming, where she was during all her rape scenes. The director made her stay unclothed, like during winter, like on the dirty mattress that the scene was happening at, and they were like, "Can't put a shirt on; it will fuck up my lighting." And so I was like, I don't want to watch that. I'll watch Mad Max instead. So yeah.
Can't go wrong either way there. Well, besides that, what you said, but
everything else in Death Wish 3 is awesome, though.
But I had to bring a cheesy 90s action film to the list, of course.
I had one 90s movie, one 70s, and one 2010s. So kind of drives me crazy that the actress Wolverine's daughter was like born in like 2005, 2006. It's like, what was I doing? Like, wow. At that age, God.
Man, I was 5 years old. I was probably hitting the water bong at that age. No, I'm just kidding.
At 11.
At 11. Oh,
okay, well, any last thoughts? I'm going to get the notebook out.
Oh. Nah, this pretty much didn't have no supplements. I hope they release a release with supplements, because this didn't have any really.
Well, let me cross Dystopian films off. We have 10 left. We could roll, but I am feeling like for our next one, we should do shitty remakes. That's kind of been on my mind.
I was eyeing that, actually. Same here.
But I'm also looking at non-franchise.
I was actually talking about that one.
We're on a delay, sorry.
That's all right. Either one goes for me, man. I'm down for either one. Unless we could flip a coin on it or do a flip. I don't know.
I may just do the 10-sided die.
Okay.
Come to think of it. So I'm trying to think of non-franchise slashes that I own. I don't have many. I don't want to have to rewatch stuff. But I have a big Vinegar Syndrome coming in. What about Sleaze and Goy? That was one theme we had.
Love that. So you know I won't complain on that.
Okay, let's do that. Our next theme is sleaze and goy. So that gives a huge margin.
Yeah, got plenty of that in the collection for
I
sure.
have a lot right now that I don't have, that I haven't even watched yet. There's one in specific I've been thinking about doing a Nazi exploitation triple feature video on, but I may just lump it in to this.
I've always wondered about that Nazi exploitation. I haven't seen too many of those. I got Mad Foxes, which I watched was
Oh
pretty fun.
no. Red Letter
Nazi
Media
exploitation
watched
film.
that. They said it was disgusting. Very sleazy.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah,
People in piss
exactly what they
tubs.
said there. It's a crazy film. I had to go to the lock room can make sure the kids aren't around when I'm watching that movie because it's pretty fucked up.
Okay, well, sounds good. We will be doing sleaze and goy as our next theme. Thank you again for joining us today, Leon. Always fun.
Thank you for having me, Christian. It's always a blast, and I look forward to more cinema trash we could watch here and talk about.
As John Waters says, cinema trash. But may your watch pile continue to weather, everyone. Thank you all for watching.